It was supposed to be a backup plan. Instead, it just turned into a warning. Because when Andy Reid talked about Justin Fields, he didn't sound cautious. He sounded confident. And for the New York Jets, that's exactly what they didn't want to hear. The situation started with uncertainty. Patrick Mahomes is still recovering from a major knee injury. No clear timeline, no guarantee for week 1. For most teams, that kind of unknown creates anxiety. But not in Kansas City. Because behind the scenes, the Kansas City Chiefs made a quiet move that's suddenly getting very loud. They brought in Fields. At the time, it looked like insurance, a short-term solution, a safety net in case Mahomes wasn't ready. Now, it looks like something more. We've got a legitimate backup that can go win games for us. That's not coach speak. That's belief. And that's where the tension spikes, because the Jets just lived through the opposite experience. Fields arrived with promise, athleticism, upside, a chance to stabilize a broken offense, but it never clicked. The production wasn't there, the consistency never came, and before long, the situation collapsed into a 0-7 start that forced the organization to move on. Fast. That's the version of Fields New York remembers. But Reid just hinted at a different one. That's the turning point. Because quarterbacks don't just fail in a vacuum, they fail in systems. And now Fields is stepping into one of the most quarterback-friendly environments in the league. Structured play calling, defined reads, creative adjustments, the kind of system that doesn't ask a quarterback to be perfect, just decisive. That changes everything. Because if Mahomes isn't ready, Fields won't be asked to carry the offense. He'll be asked to manage it, extend plays, hit defined targets, use his legs when things break down. That's where he's dangerous. And suddenly, the idea of him starting early in the season doesn't feel like a weakness. It feels like a problem, especially if the matchup lines up the wrong way. Because there's a very real scenario where Fields opens his Chiefs tenure against the Jets, the team that gave up on him. Same player, different system, different expectations. That's personal. And for New York, the quarterback situation isn't exactly settled either. Geno Smith is back, but he's a short-term solution. The future is still unclear. The draft looms, more decisions coming. Meanwhile, Kansas City looks stable, even without Mahomes on the field. That's the part that stings, because if Fields succeeds, even in a limited role, it raises a bigger question. Was the problem ever really him? Or was it where he was? That's the kind of question teams don't like answering after the fact. So Reid's comments weren't just praise. They were pressure on the Jets, on Fields, on the narrative that's about to be tested all over again. Because if Fields steps in and wins games early, it won't just be a good story. It'll be a reminder. And those are always the hardest ones to deal with.